All right, let's jump right in. Look, we are all drowning in data, right? Clicks, sessions, bounce rates, it's a flood. But what does any of it really mean? Well, today, we're going to dig into the book Google Analytics Breakthrough to find a much smarter way. We're going to talk about how to stop just hoarding data and actually start using it to make a real difference in your business.
This quote it nails the whole problem, doesn't it? It's this wild irony the book points out. We have more information at our fingertips than any other time in history, but are we actually making smarter decisions with it? Not really. It turns out having the data is one thing. Knowing what to do with it, that's a whole other ballgame. And that leads us to this problem that the authors gave this perfect name for: data puking. And you know exactly what this is. We've all seen it. It's that endless fire hose of reports and metrics that lands in your inbox every Monday morning. And what happens? Nothing. Nobody acts on it. It just gives you the illusion of being data-driven without any of the actual decisions. It's all noise and no signal. So what's the fix? Well, the answer isn't some fancy new tool you have to buy. It's about a totally new mindset. The book calls it a soup-to-nuts approach, a complete, holistic strategy that guides you from the very first piece of data you collect all the way to delivering real, actionable insights. And here's what that strategy looks like. It's a clear, step-by-step process. You start with smart implementation. You make sure your data collection is clean. You got to get that foundation right. From there, you move into deep analysis. And then, this is the most important part, you deliver actual business insights. Think of it as a roadmap for turning all that data noise into a clear, confident voice. So let's start building this out, okay? Let's talk about that first piece of the puzzle, collecting your data with a real purpose. This is all about you taking back control. Instead of just letting this wave of information crash over you, you get really intentional about what you're collecting and, more importantly, why. And a key tool to make that happen is Google Tag Manager, or GTM. The best way to think about it is like a central toolbox for all the tracking codes on your website. So instead of having all these little bits of code scattered everywhere, GTM keeps them all neat and tidy in one place. You can say create a tag that only fires when someone clicks add to cart, or another one that tracks when someone watches 75% of a video. You get this incredible, granular control over what you measure, which turns vague traffic data into very specific user stories. And this is not just a nice to have. The book makes it super clear. For pretty much anyone doing serious analytics, GTM isn't just an option, it is the strongly recommended option. It's really the professional standard if you want to get control and make sure your data is clean and manageable right from the get-go. Because that control leads you to this really fundamental truth: clean data in, clean insights out. It's that simple. If your data is a mess from the beginning, like having 5 different ways to spell Facebook in your campaign tags, then your reports are going to be a fragmented, useless mess. Getting your data hygiene right from the very start, it's absolutely non-negotiable. Okay, so we're collecting clean, organized data. That's awesome. Now we get to tackle the most important challenge: actually interpreting it. This is where we go beyond just spitting out numbers and start to find the story, the why that's hiding behind them. So have a look at this. At first glance, you're thinking, great, we're winning. The blue line this year is way above the orange line from last year. Sessions are up. But is that really the whole story? What if your business is seasonal? How do you know if you're actually improving or if this is just the predictable tide coming in? This is how. You have to dig one level deeper. You have to look at the change in the change. So last year, inquiries went up by just 2 between May and June. But this year, they jumped by 20. See? It's not just an increase. It's an increase that blew past the normal seasonal trend. That is a real insight. That's powerful. And we can never, ever forget that behind every single one of these numbers, there is a person. The book tells this quick, powerful story about a user named Sunil. He saw an ad, he wanted to buy a product, he was ready to give his money, but a broken form just wouldn't let him. Every field conversion, every bounce, it's not just a data point. It's a Sunil having a really frustrating day. Our data is just telling their stories. And that brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important step of all. We've collected the right data. We've found the story in it. So now what? How do we take that story and turn it into real, tangible value for the business? A huge part of this is shifting how we think about success. For years, marketing was obsessed with cost per acquisition, or CPA. What did it cost to get that one sale? But modern analytics lets us think so much bigger. We can focus on long-term value, or LTV. We're not just trying to acquire a single transaction, we're trying to build a lasting relationship. Ultimately, this whole journey, it's about this one transformation right here. It's about going from that messy, overwhelming spreadsheet on the left, the kind where analysts spend 90% of their time just cleaning the data, to the clear, simple, intuitive dashboard on the right. This is how you take all those complex insights and make them so clear that anyone can understand them, and more importantly, act on them. So, when you boil it all down, the main takeaway is that you have a choice. You can let your organization keep data puking, just making a ton of noise that doesn't actually lead anywhere. Or you can build a real strategy to turn that noise into a compelling story that drives real business impact. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Is your data telling a story, or is it just making noise?